Welcome to AskPrep. My name is Sakshi, and we are discussing diversity in living organism, class 11. So far, we have discussed about the kingdom Monera. We have talked about the archaebacteria and the eubacteria, about their characteristics, about their similarities, dissimilarities, and so on. We will move further with this. In case of any doubts and queries, please reach out to us through the comments section. So today we'll start talking about the cyanobacteria. Right, the cyanobacteria is also called as a blue-green algae. Cyano means blue, hence they are called the blue-green algae, right? So whenever we observe them under the microscope, they appear something like this. So because of their color, they are called blue-green algae, right? So they perform photosynthesis. When the process of photosynthesis goes on, then what happens is taking in of carbon dioxide and release of oxygen, right? So these cyanobacteria are one of those primitive organisms on the earth. So when the earth was coming into its shape, so it is because of these bacteria that the environment of the earth had oxygen in it, because they undergo photosynthesis and release oxygen, right? So they are responsible for enriching an atmosphere with oxygen. So they are the most primitive, or the ancestors of all living forms on the earth, right? Now, this was about the autotrophic bacteria that we have discussed so far, that undergo photosynthesis, that can prepare their own food. But what about others? So there are heterotrophic bacteria also. And are these all bacteria harmful to us, or they have any benefit also? We will discuss it now, right? So heterotrophic bacteria, eubacteria, how do they take in their nutrition? By the decomposition, right? So a few of them, they undergo decomposition. They are the decomposers that get their nutrition from the dead and decaying matter. Hence, help in cleaning the environment, keep the environment clean, and also curd from the milk. We have been hearing about this lactobacillus. Lacto is the term that comes from milk. Bacillus is the term comes from the bacteria. So this bacteria helps the curdling of helps the formation of curd from the milk, right? We know there is a bacteria in the curd that is good for our gut, for our digestion. So that is the lactobacillus, right? Various antibiotics are also prepared by these bacteria. So they help in preparation of the antibiotics also. Nitrogen fixation, rhizobium bacteria, we have studied in the junior classes also that they are present in the root nodules of the legumes. So what do? They help to fix the free nitrogen, right? So nitrogen, we know, is abundance in the atmosphere, but it cannot be consumed directly, right? There is no way we can consume it directly, but it is essential for all the living organisms, right? So this rhizobium bacteria, they are very, very helpful in fixing that free nitrogen into and convert them into the form that can be consumed by the living beings, right? Now, besides the benefit, yes, they do give a lot of benefits to us, these bacteria. They are also responsible for spreading diseases, right? They are the pathogens. Pathogens are what? The bacteria that cause diseases amongst us, right? So here are a few examples. Typhoid is caused by Salmonella typhi, right? So we know what happens in the typhoid. It caused due to this particular bacteria, and typhoid cause fever and weakness in the body. Cholera again is caused by Vibrio cholerae. That's again a bacterial infection, right? It is caused due to the consumption of unhygienic water, right? So this bacteria is a waterborne, and this cholera is a waterborne disease. It goes inside the body with the help of this water, and then spread the disease in the healthy human being, right? Now, tetanus is again caused by another bacteria, which is Clostridium tetani. Then is the tuberculosis, Mycobacterium tuberculosis, and syphilis is caused by Treponema pallidum, right? So these are the various bacteria that cause diseases, and hence they are called pathogens, right? So bacteria can be both beneficial to us and harmful to us in many ways. So another this type of bacteria that is there in that is around us is the E. coli, Escherichia coli. Okay, so these are the rod-shaped bacteria. They are found in the lower intestine of warm-blooded animals. Okay, so these warm-blooded animals कौन से होते हैं? These are the mammals and the birds. They fall under the category of warm-blooded animals, and the other three, that is amphibian, reptiles, and fishes, they are the cold-blooded animals, right? Now, this most of the E. coli strains, they are harmless to us. They do not cause any harm, but some can cause harm to a larger extent. They can cause serious food poisoning in human. अब how does it enter our body, right? अब ये आता कैसे है? It can enter the human body by improperly cooked meat. Some raw meat और unhealthy meat, जो मीट पहले खराब है या वो किसी ने कंज्यूम कर लिया या it is not been cooked. So under a very high temperature, E. coli does not survive, right? So it gets killed. Now, sometimes what happens, the meat is not properly cooked. So it is raw and the E. coli can still survive, right? So अगर किसी ने वो meat consume कर लिया, तो then what happens is this E. coli will enter and then cause serious trouble, right? Some uncooked vegetables. So all the leafy vegetables, if you wash them thoroughly, then this E. coli may get drained off, right? So when you eat the raw vegetables, then with the help of that, it enters the body. And some untreated drinking water, like the water that is not fit for consumption, जो ठीक नहीं है पानी, it is not very clean. So if somebody takes in that, then also E. coli can enter the body, right? Now, what are the symptoms? The severe stomach cramps can be seen, diarrhea, vomiting. So these are the various symptoms that can caused by E. coli. तो माइकोप्लाज्मा, माइकोप्लाज्मा क्या होता है? हमने अगर आपने पहले भी पढ़ा होगा इन योर जूनियर क्लासेस आल्सो, इट इज द स्मॉलेस्ट लिविंग सेल, right? So when you were studying the chapter cell, then also we studied about it that mycoplasma is the smallest living cell. They are very, very minute, right? Now they are parasitic bacteria. Parasites क्या होते हैं? That live on other living organism, on or inside the other living organism. They do not have a cell wall, right? अब cell wall क्यों नहीं है यहाँ पे? If the cell wall would have been there, it would have been thicker. Then to draw nutrition from their host would be difficult, right? So that is why they lack cell wall, so that it is much more easier to draw their nutrition from the host. Now, habitat is human respiratory or urinogenital tract. Now, it is also seen in the blood smears as well, right? So diseases that are caused by mycoplasma are the Mycoplasma pneumoniae is the bacteria and it causes pneumonia. It is also known as walking pneumonia. Why? Because this bacteria cause a milder form of pneumonia that can spread, that can often spread. So that means if a one person has it, then it can pass it on to the multiple around, right? That is why it is called the walking pneumonia, right? This is another felina infection anemia. This is seen in the cats, right? So anemia हमें पता है क्या होता है. It is the lack of blood in the organism. So this disease is common in the cats, which is caused by mycoplasma, right? Now, how do they multiply? About the reproduction of these bacteria. कैसे multiply करते हैं? First of all is the binary fission. हमने पहले भी पढ़ा है about it in the amoeba, as the amoeba also undergoes binary fission. Binary का मतलब होता है two, fission means the splitting up into two organisms here. So as you can see here, the nucleoid is present like this, and once it starts undergoing reproduction, the nucleoid elongates, and this plasmid also split into two. Elongation of cytoplasm is also seen here, and then finally this splitting up starts, right? So first of all, the genetic material gets split up into two, and later the cytoplasm, and eventually the plasma membranes, then ultimately giving rise to the two organisms, two daughter cells, as we call it, right? So this is the binary fission, which is the asexual reproduction in case of bacteria. Now, if you see, the whatever the genetic material is present in the parent, the daughter cell will also have the same genetic material, right? So there, since it is the asexual reproduction, there is no mixing up of the genes here. Whereas this one, conjunction. Conjunction का क्या मतलब होता है? Adjoint, right? English में पढ़ते हैं हम the conjunction words, right? What are those conjunction words that join the two sentences together, right? So here also they are joining the two cells together. So this one is the conjunction, right? So this forms the conjunction. It is the link between these two. So two different organisms, two different bacteria, they come together, and via the help of this pilus, the conjunction tube, they join together, and the mixing up of the genetic material also takes place here, right? And then it splits up into the two new organisms, right? So in the previous one, there was no mixing up of the genetic material took place because the offsprings are from the single parent. Here it is from the two different parents, so that is why the mixing of genetic material happens, and it is via this conjunction tube, which is called as the pilus. And then eventually, whenever this complete splitting up is done, then they would divide themselves and give rise to the new organisms, right? So this is about reproduction in Monera. Now about the significance, कहाँ कहाँ क्या क्या benefits हैं हमारे लिए bacteria के? Is it of any use to us, or is it only causing us diseases and help spread in diseases only? पर ऐसा नहीं है, right? We discussed it earlier also, and let's recollect it once more. The decay and decomposition. अगर bacteria नहीं होंगे हमारे environment में, decay and decompositions nahi hongi, so the spread of diseases would have been much more faster, right? So it is very, very essential for our environment that bacteria help in decay and decomposition of the organic matter, right? So enhancing soil fertility. Since they decay the organic matter, और वो soil में mix होके उसकी fertility भी increase करता है. In the food industries also, we know about the fermentation processes that is used in the food industry, जो baking के काम आते हैं, brewing के काम आते हैं, and so on, right? So in the food industries, bacteria are widely used. We also discussed about the lactobacillus bacteria. So that means curd formation may, that also comes under the food industry, right? Now, industrial production, besides the food industry, it is also useful in certain pesticides, fertilizers, and so on. So, wahan par bhi, in those industries also, these bacteria are very, very important, right? Now, antibiotics, हमने पहले भी पढ़ा है about the antibiotics and the bacterial use in the medicines, right? So these bacteria that are beneficial in the antibiotic or the medicine industry as well. We know about the genetic engineering and biotechnology, right? So bacteria wahan par bhi hame help karte hain, right? So bacteria are not only harmful and spread the diseases, they are beneficial to us in the large extent, right? So this was all about the kingdom Monera, and we discussed all the bacteria in details, and I hope that this part is clear to you. Now we will move further and start talking about the kingdom Protista, right? So the second kingdom, right? So we have finished with one kingdom. Kingdom Monera is done with all archaebacteria, eubacteria, cyanobacteria, about the autotrophic bacteria and the heterotrophic, about their use and about the pathogens, where all they are used. We have discussed this all. Now we will come to the kingdom Protista. Okay, so the basic characteristics of kingdom Protista is that they are eukaryotes, right? The previous kingdom that we have studied, the Moneras, they were all prokaryotes. So we can see the evolution is taking place here. वो सारे prokaryotic थे, primitive थे. Now we have come to the eukaryotic organisms, which have this specific membrane-bound cell organelles and distinct nucleus. So specified nucleus is present here, or organelles भी present है यहाँ पर. So we can see an advancement from the previous kingdom, right? So they're mostly unicellular, made from a single cell. वहां पर भी हमने single cell वाले देखे थे, but they were prokaryotic, primitive nucleus and no membrane bound cell organelles. But here the advantage is that they are unicellular, but the eukaryotic cells are seen. Eukaryotic organisms are seen here, right? About the mode of nutrition here, they are also autotrophic as well as heterotrophic, depending on their environment, वो कहाँ पर present है, right? So autotrophs, we know those are those that prepare their own food. Heterotrophs that are dependent on others for their food. So they prefer moist and aquatic habitats, right? So if you recall in Monera, what was the habitat seen there? They were present from the extreme habitats, right? From extreme hot to extreme cold to the trenches and every possible place, right? So they were present everywhere, right? But when we come to Kingdom Protista, they are generally present in the moist and aquatic habitats, right? So reproduction is seen both the sexually as well as asexually in case of Protistas. No, they are also called the link with the other kingdoms. कैसे? क्योंकि they look like plants. Some of them they look like plants, like the algae. We can see it in the diagram. ये देखिए यहाँ पर. So right, so they look like the plants, and a few of them, like the protozoa and all, they look like the animals, like these. So some of them they look like fungus, like these slime molds and water molds, right? Now, Protista is again a vast group, and these are the different types of categories that we are going to learn in this chapter under this kingdom, right? So we are going to start with the chrysophytes, right? So chrysophytes, chryso is the word comes from gold, and phyte means plant. So they are the golden plant like this, right? So they look golden and the plants like. So they are also diatoms and golden algae, plant-like protists. Structure कैसा है? They contain chlorophyll, keratin, and xanthophylls, right? So chlorophyll present है, that means the nutrition is mostly photosynthetic, right? कहाँ present है? Habitat is aquatic, can be freshwater, oblique marine, right? Float passively on the water. So they are the floating algae, right? They are present, they can be present in marine, they can be present in the freshwater also, right? As we have discussed, the nutrition is photosynthetic. Why? Because of the presence of chlorophyll, right? Chlorophyll present hai, so that's why they will undergo photosynthesis. Like diatoms, main producers of food in the oceans. So kiske liye food in the ocean? When they undergo photosynthesis, so there are a whole lot of fishes and other organisms that live in the water. So उनके लिए खाना भी तो provide करना है. So that is being provided by them, this algae. So they store food as oil. Few are heterotrophic, that because कुछ ऐसे होते हैं जो which do not get enough light, which do not cannot undergo photosynthesis, so they undergo the heterotrophic nutrition and they feed on small bacteria, right? So reproduction that is seen here is mostly asexual, right? So they multiply by asexual mode of reproduction. Now, this is an interesting thing before we proceed further about the diatomaceous earth. So diatomaceous earth, what is it, what does it mean? It forms the outer layer of these diatoms, right? So the cell wall of these diatoms, they are two-layered, right? So they enclose it like this and they fix it so well that they cover the organism inside, right? So it is made up of silica. It is very strong and very rigid. So even if the organism die inside them, the cell wall remains. So in this picture, you can observe these are the remains of this cell wall over the period of time that has been collected. So now this is surviving so much over the period of time that it is accumulated over million of years, and hence it forms a layer of the earth which is called as the diatomaceous earth, right? So if you crush it into the powder form, it becomes like this, right? Now, where all it is usable, it is used in filtration of oils and polishing toothpaste. Now, why polishing? Because it is very coarse and rough, right? So whenever you have to polish something, you have to scrub it with something which is very coarse. So that is why it is used in facial scrubs also. Many people, they consume this as well. They say it is good for digestion and their gut, right? It is also used in pest controls. Now, this diatomaceous earth, this is very dry in nature, right? So, whenever it is used with in the pest control, it draws the moisture from the pest and keeping them dehydrated, and eventually the pest die. So that is why it is used in pest control and the grain storage in agriculture also, because wherever they have to store the grain, it has to be free from the pest, right? So that is why they use it there. So this one is very, very important, this diatomaceous earth, which is the outer layer, the fossil remains of these diatoms, which eventually form a layer of the earth, right? So it is a hard shell-like structure like this, which we can see it in the picture.